Hello, lovelies. Dr. Maria is here. Today we're solving February-March 2025 paper 2. Okay, starting off, it shows us the map of Mexico, its location. Then it shows us the map of Mexico. Okay, this second page is very, very important. You will use it in your questions, so don't forget about this, okay? Sometimes they can give you incomplete questions, but this is the rest of the question. It lies here in this page, okay? So this page speaks about area of Mexico, the population, the children, the life expectancy, the currency, the language, they speak Spanish. Climate of Mexico, it's varied and deserted and some tropical due to the rains. Okay, good, we got terrain. And that varied with mountains and large flatlands. Main exports are oil, silver, gold, agricultural products like crops, and timber. Nice. Mexico is a country in North America. Mexico has reserves of minerals and oil that are extracted and exported for what? For money. Okay. Agriculture is a major industry. Some areas have poor soils that limit agricultural yields. Tourism is an important thing for the economy. Okay. First question. The map shows the location of Guerrero Negro sea salt factory on Baja of Mexico. The sea salt factory is the largest of the world and produces 7 million tons. What they want us to find here is to estimate the area of lagoon. So find the area using this one, and it's going to be 400 kilometers square. Ocean tides bring seawater into the lagoon, which give the factory a constant supply of seawater. Now suggest 2 other reasons for the location of the factory. Let's take a look about the location of the factory. This is the factory, this is the port, this is the lagoon, and this is the town. Okay? And these are the roads. So they want to know why the factory is present in that specific location. Why is it here? So obviously, as you can see, that the factory, it's close to the lagoon, it's close to the town, it's close to the road, okay, or connected to the road. So that's going to be your answer. Near the port, near the town, near the road. Paper 2 doesn't require a lot of memorization compared to paper 1. Paper 1 is more theory-like, but paper 2 is more practical-like. So pay attention reading the question, highlights the key words or the hints you find in the question, like you will see in the next questions. Highlight them so you could answer the questions faster and better, okay? And please pay attention in reading questions because your hints and your answers lie in the questions themselves. Deal? Deal. Let's go. The lagoon ecosystem contains biotic, living, abiotic, non-living. So this suggests 1 biotic and 1 abiotic. Biotic, living things. Producers is a living thing, okay? The plants. Consumers, like primary, secondary, tertiary consumers, any type of consumer. Decomposers, who feed on dead and organic matter. Okay. Abiotic, salinity, the salt, amount of salt in either soil or water. The pH, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, the temperature, the water, the light. The photograph shows sea salt that has been extracted from seawater in the lagoon. Suggests 2 environmental impacts that this salt extraction is. Change in salinity, increase in salinity, of course it's going to be more salty. Pollution, the types of pollution, such as water, noise, visual, air. Okay, these are types of pollution. Now, in paper 2, you're going to count all types of solution as 1 mark. So, don't write noise pollution as the first point, and then write water pollution as the second point. They are both counted as only 1 mark. Don't fall into this trap. Pinky promise you're not going to fall in this trap. This is a trap, okay? So count pollution as only 1 mark, and write other part that you're sure about. Of course, here we got the sea, so any digging in the sea or anything, as you can see here, these things are in the middle of sea or middle water bodies anyway. That's going to cause loss of habitat. And when you mention loss of habitat, it holds with its two sisters. What are the two sisters? Loss in biodiversity and genetic depletion. Okay? So when you mention loss of habitat, mention loss of biodiversity and mention loss of genetic depletion. Okay? You get 3 marks. It's very simple. Okay, next. The factory is located in the Biosphere Reserve. Describe how Biosphere Reserve conserve biodiversity. Conserve habitats. Okay, I mentioned. It holds with its sister. What is sister? Habitat and genetic pool. Okay? So how to conserve the habitat by conserving... how to conserve the biodiversity by conserving the habitat, and that's going to conserve the genetic pool. Okay? Education, ecotourism, laws and limits of hunting, tourists, farming, and construction. The photograph shows tourist whale watching in the lagoon. Describe what is meant by sustainable tourism. What is sustainable? Sustainable is something that we're doing with least or no harmful effect on the ecosystem. Like, in this case, we're whale watching. Whale watching, tourism happens, but without harming the ecosystem. You don't see them littering. They're just enjoying the view of the whale while it's on the surface. That's sustainable. Another question might be about mining. So they're talking about mining, telling you how to mine sustainably or what is sustainably. Okay, if they mention mining, you're saying that you extract the resources or use resources without damaging the environment or with least damage to the environment and without running out of it and saving it for future generations. Suggest 3 strategies for managing the impacts of whale watching. Limit the boats. Limit the time of the year where tourism happens. Limit the number of people on boat. Limit touristic days. Limit the number of tourists, we said that. Limit the size of the boat. The numbers and the size of the boats happen only during presence of tourist guides. Only when tourist guides are present, they can go whale watching. No tourist guides, no whale watching. Educate people about the whales, about their habitat, about the ecosystem. Education. The drawing shows marine mammal called vaquita. Marine mammals need to come to the surface to breathe air. The vaquita is only found in sea quartz. In 2015, a survey estimated that only 60 vaquita are present in the wild. In 2021, there were only 10 vaquitas left in the wild. Calculate the mean decrease per year. That's your hint, okay? Don't forget this. About vaquita population in 6 years between 2021 and 2015. Since they said per year, so you're going to find the number of years. You already said that, 6 years, but it's okay. You didn't see that. So 2021 minus 2015 is going to give you 6 years. And then you're going to subtract the amount of vaquita in each year. 60 minus 10 is going to give you 50. 50 divided by 6. Now, pay attention to this part. Give your answer as a whole number, because this answer is going to be 8.3, if I remember correctly. So, estimate it. It's going to be 8. Okay. Suggest why it is difficult to estimate population. Of course, that's a whale. That's a mammal. That's an organism that moves. So you can miscount it. So miscounting it, only 10 are available. We're talking about 21, so only 10 are available. And it's small size to determine anything. Suggest 2 reasons why commercial fishing is a threat. The fishes that they harvest in order to sell it for cash. They get caught in nets. The vaquita get caught in nets. It reduces the food because vaquita feed on these fishes, so it reduces the food and have limited habitat. Question 2. The diagram shows climate change for Mexico City and Baja. Pay attention to the key. You got the bars, precipitation. The line is temperature. Pay attention to the axis. This part talks about the precipitation. The right part, precipitation. The left part, the temperature. That's Mexico, that's Baja. Okay, before answering your questions, before reading that, take a moment to differentiate the differences or describe what you see roughly, just in case they ask you that question. Okay? First, you see that the temperature in Baja is warmer or higher compared to that of Mexico. Then you see precipitation is more in Mexico or during all the months compared to Baja. Baja is a lower precipitation. No precipitation happens during these months. Another thing to note, that they both have the highest precipitation rate or the highest mean precipitation in September. Identify the month in Mexico, pay attention, with the lowest precipitation, that's December. Identify 4-month period of Baja with the greatest mean temperature. You're going to find the highest point or the greatest temperature, and then find the other 3 that are closer to that greatest one. That's July to October. The mean temperature for May in Mexico is 18 degrees. They want us to plot it. We're going to plot it and connect it point to point. If you have to plot a graph, you have to connect a line graph, okay? You have to connect the dots line to line. Like, unless they ask you for best fit. Then if they ask you for best fit, you're going to get your dots like that. Okay, whatever. And you're going to find the best line that goes through most of them or in the middle. Compare the monthly mean precipitation in Mexico City with that of Baja. Now, is that compared? So you have to compare. You're going to find both and the differences between them. Both wet season, September with the highest precipitation. Baja has less precipitation than Mexico. You see that comparison? Than Mexico. And also we're going to see the ER in order to compare. Baja has months with no precipitation, unlike Mexico, which had it every month. Baja has shorter wet season and longer drier season. You have to compare. The map shows the path for the Colorado River. You see the international boundary, that's the one, large city, and the Colorado River. Okay, you got cities here, these are the large cities. The river is the main source of fresh water for Baja. In recent years, the river does not supply enough water. Why? Without even thinking, due to the increase in population, increasing the demand. Thank you very much, you got your answer. Okay, let's carry on. For the population and Baja, suggest 3 reasons why the river does not supply enough water: population, demand. And then you're going to think about any other thing. Less precipitation, less rainfall, changes in the climate that will lead to increase in evaporation. Any valid point that makes sense will do. State 2 sources of fresh water other than river, lakes, reservoirs, aquifers, wells, rainwater, harvested rainwater. The United States of America government recommends that potable water should contain at least 10 milligrams per decimeter cube of nitrate ions. What does potable means? Water that is drinkable or water that's safe to drink. Find the formula of nitrate ions. Don't do this. I was tempted to choose this, but then I saw the negative sign, okay? If you did not find the negative sign, you can choose this one. But since they give you the accurate one with the negative sign, then choose that, okay? Choosing this won't be correct. State 1 source of nitrate ions in the river: leaching of fertilizers. Manure, that's the waste of kettles, organic matter kind of thing. Sewage, Complete the sentences about the impacts of excess nitrate in the river. That's talking about eutrophication, and you're going to know in the answer. Excess nitrates make their way to the river. Algae bloom. Algae blocks sunlight from entering the river. Plants and algae die, and they are decomposed by microorganisms. They are the bacteria ones. The dissolved oxygen gas in the river decreases and the animals die. This process is called eutrophication. The local government of Baja have introduced water rationing. Raw water rationing is turning off water from homes and industries for a few hours. That's supposed to conserve water. What are the effects of water rationing? Now, they mentioned homes and industries. You can write on both homes, or you can write on both industries, or a mix. Okay, that's your hint at the question. So what do we say? No drinking water. No for cooking. No water for cooking. No water for washing. Poor sanitation at home, when you use the toilets, of course. Industries, they're unproductive. That's going to decrease their yield. And when they decrease the yield, it's going to decrease the income for the economy. Next, we're talking about human sewage contains feces and water. The diagram shows sources of human sewage in an ocean, or they're all leached to ocean. Using the diagram, when they say use the diagram, you better use all the annotations you see in the diagram. Use sewage treatment, use outdoor sewage, use the term precipitation in domestic sewage, and groundwater in ocean. Use them all in your answer, okay? First, sewage from sewage treatment, outdoor sewage, and domestic sewage make their way to the groundwater, where they get to the ocean. Or outdoor sewage and domestic sewage are leached or washed away by precipitation, making their way into the ocean. Pick whatever explanation you want, but you have to explain it right. I wrote my answer. Take a look at it. Describe how human sewage can impact human health. If you don't have to even think about that, if you don't know what that is, you don't have to think about that. You see that person pooping, right? So even if you don't know what sewage is, this is your hint. Person pooping. This is feces. And water. It's gonna wash away his poop into the ocean, right? So when you see this, definitely you know logic and common sense that feces contain a lot of bacteria, right? So when that bacteria makes its way to the water, it's going to contaminate the water. The water is contaminated from bacteria from that sewage, and that's going to cause you waterborne diseases such as typhoid and cholera. Okay? Question 3 is showing us a table showing us population density of 5 countries, and they ask us to plot bar chart. This question can either be a bar chart or a line graph, but since they specified for a bar chart, then do it a bar chart. You have to know that the country is going to be on the x-axis, and on the y-axis the population density, and write the unit. Write the unit as it is, okay? Some people would write people as PPL. No, okay? No abbreviations are allowed when you're writing the units. Do not abbreviate. These are some notes that you need to take care of. Pause and read it. Calculate how many times greater the population density of Mexico compared to Australia is. You're going to calculate it, and you're going to find it 22. In 2022, the population of Mexico City was 9.2 million, and the area was 1,485 kilometers square. Calculate the population density in Mexico. If they didn't give you the population, okay, they didn't tell you the population, you're going to figure it out from the second page I told you about. I told you that important page, okay? 9.2 multiplied by 10 to the power of 6. Why did I do this? Because I wanted to write million as million. It's going to be like this. Okay? Divided by 1,485, and that's going to be 6,195. Suggest 3 reasons why many cities have larger population than rural areas. The cities got better, or urbanization more than rural areas. Job opportunities, better services like healthcare, education, better infrastructure, more houses are available, better living standards, better everything. The PM 2.5 is an air pollutant that comes from fossil fuels. The graph shows us the concentration of the pollutant over 24 hours. As you can see, this is the graph. It's increasing and then it decreased. The World Health Organization recommends that 24-hour mean concentration of the pollutant should be less than 15. So we got 15 over here, okay? Now use the graph to identify how many hours the concentration of the pollutant is greater than the recommended. The recommended is 15, okay? So they're asking you how many hours is it more than 15. You're going to take this part from this point onwards to this point onwards, okay? And if you count these hours from 6 a.m. to midnight, okay, you're going to find it 18 hours. It's simple. It seems hard, but it's very simple, okay? The student concludes that 24-hour mean concentration of the pollutant in Mexico City is below 24-hour mean concentration recommended by the World Health. Use evidence from the graph to explain why this conclusion is not correct. As you can see, the World Health Organization said to be 15, but the graph showed you data of the concentration being more than 15. So that's exactly what you're going to write. More concentration above 15. Arbitrary units if you wish. So just two reasons for the changes in the concentration of the pollutant shown in the graph. As you can see, there is an increase and then decrease. But why does it increase during the day? You see, this is the noon and this is PM, 6 p.m. So why did it increase the 6 hours and then it decreased again as we reached the night? If you remember that this pollutant comes from fossil fuels, the burning of fossil fuels. So during the day, we use fossil fuels in cooking, in transportation, in vehicles. The industries use it in order to produce their products. People are more awake during the day, so they use and burn the fossil fuels. And vehicles used during the day, the cooking, fossil fuels used more during the day, as that is. Industries work more also during the day to produce their products. Smog regularly forms in Mexico City from vehicle emissions. Describe how smog forms. They are the volatile organic compounds, the VOCs. You can write this abbreviation in the exam. It's due to the nitrogen oxide and sulfur dioxide. With the presence of light, they cause the temperature inversion where they trap the pollution closer to the ground level. Describe 3 strategies to reduce the formation of smog. Again, you got distracted. That's okay. Scroll up a little bit. You're going to find that the smog comes from vehicles, so vehicle emission. Therefore, it has to do with combustion of fossil fuels, right? So decrease fossil fuels. Again, they talked about vehicles. It comes from vehicles. So use catalytic converters to reduce the smog. Encourage carpooling, bicycles. Walk more. The government should set laws, change to electrical cars or vehicles, use public transportation, anything that would decrease the emission of toxic gases from fossil fuels or burning fossil fuels. Smog can cause premature death. State 2 other effects of smog on human health. Respiratory disease because smoke, okay, that comes from smog. So smoke causes irritation, right? And you know smog is a mixture of fog and smoke. So smoke will cause respiratory diseases or lung cancer. Respiratory diseases such as asthma, bronchitis, emphysema, any respiratory disease, write it. If you don't, write lung cancer, it's okay. Eye irritation. When you see pollutants or even dust particles irritate your eyes, right? That's smoke. And smoke got those toxic gases. They're definitely going to irritate the eyes. So respiratory diseases, lung cancer, eye irritation, and heart diseases. The drawing shows an orchid. The orchid grows on mature trees in the forests in southern Mexico. In 2022, the orchid was classified as endangered. So it was endangered in the wild. So just two reasons why the orchid has become endangered: because of humans, habitat loss due to deforestation. Also, you can mention diseases. A disease outbreak happened and they're endangered. You can also mention limiting factors. Mention any point that you know. A scientist investigates the population of white orchids in 1,000 square area of forest using a systematic sampling. It's asking you to explain what systematic sampling is. You're going to say use grid or GPS coordinates, transects placed at regular intervals, 2 meters square using measuring tape to measure, quadrat placed at regular intervals. You can set the regular intervals, okay, by saying 2 meters square, 5 meter, 10 meters, your wish. Quadrats are placed at those regular intervals. You count the orchids in each quadrat and then record your data in a table or tally. That's a tally, okay? Tally chart. Repeat the number of transects. Repeat that at different times of the year or different seasons, different places, different farms, whatever. Find and calculate or calculate an estimate from the data collected. Suggest 2 limitations of sampling white orchids in the forest using a transect. That's time consuming, and also the area is too large to be covered by systematic sampling. Seeds from white orchid have been stored in seed banks. Why seeds are stored in seed banks? First thing, we're storing seeds. So seeds are small and they are dormant, okay? They're not as expensive to store, but why? Why is it not that expensive? It's not that expensive because they don't have to build larger places in order to accommodate those plants, okay? They don't grow it as plants. And certainly the plants, the plants are living, so the plants are gonna die at some point. But the seeds do not die because they are dormant. With the right conditions, literally some water, they're going to grow, okay? So what is the importance of storing these seeds? It's to conserve the biodiversity. And I told you, when you mention the biodiversity, you gotta mention their sisters. What are sisters? The habitat and genetic pool. But since here we're not talking about habitat, since we literally collected the seed from the habitat, so there's no specific habitat here. You can say conserving biodiversity is going to conserve the genetic pool, which allows you to reintroduce it in the wild when it's lost, preventing their extinction. And mention that they are dormant. State 3 limitations of seed banks. Only limited number of seeds are stored. They cannot store all species of orchids. Storage is expensive. Not sure about the seed viability. You got seeds, but you're not sure if you provided the water, will it grow or not? That's the term viability. There should be a Y here. Anyways, my loves, this marks the end of the session. I hope it was beneficial. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me if you got any questions. You can send it on my Telegram or you can write it in the comments and I do reply. Consider liking and subscribing, and thank you all for watching.